Rosemary's okay. I prefer Mercedes. I think she's pretty smart, independently of what her guests say. Okay, so Poiliev, it's good that he criticizes. Of course, he won't criticize the right things in the right way. And when he says on behalf of Canadians that can't afford food, that's insulting that he says that. Like, he's got a lot of money. It's not sure entirely where it came from, how long he's been building it. He's got more than a lot of other MPs. He's worth a lot. So to have him say on behalf of, it's the kind of nonsense that does make somebody leave the Conservatives, that and hatred speech. But anyways, Carney, he makes decisions and operates in a big world, that has an impact on entire countries and other countries. But again, using little ideas. Little ideas, there's no reinvention of our culture. There's industry has a way to invest in Canada, but not invest in education, such as the type of education that won't cost people money to change their careers to go into different industries that he's investing in. So there's no talking about that kind of education, that kind of support for workers. So they don't have to worry about their one career choice and then, not discussing as a species our intellectual laziness and people fighting for this and trying to kill politicians because they don't acknowledge their own intellectual laziness, and politicians don't acknowledge, hey, let's have tutors and tuition free and support people in new industries we're investing in. That, education has a link, and you have to talk about intellectual laziness for this. And a lack of attention span that we have as a drug-addicted culture. That has nation-building conversations in it. Of course, that's not going to happen. So the little ideas are always there. Like, I just got this book from the library. I'm not going to read it. I was making a joke. Oh, it's a big thing. I said, can I take half of it today and the next half in my backpack? It's not super heavy. But I'm not going to read all this. I'm going to look to see what his understanding of environmental concerns are. I'm going to look in there to see what he gets or doesn't get and how he talks about it. And again, I probably would have to say, hey, don't write about that stuff. And just like I told my PhD professor, elite at VIU, says, don't call yourself an expert in sustainability. You don't know what sustainability is. What you are talking about is sustainable practices. And then to hear the French guy pushing the budget, who also doesn't learn to pronounce things like economics properly, it shows our intellectual laziness as a species. Just like the Secretary General of the UN, who says fossil fuels in the fossil fuels industry. Like, how do we have people in charge and nobody around them teaching them to pronounce something properly? Especially for people like us as a species that has an extremely short attention span that won't make the effort to kind of pay attention to something that sounds a little off. I want to, but I also want to tell a person, hey, can you adapt the way you're communicating? And that would be helpful. That's what, Team Canada would be, right? So anyways, the only way this could be good, this budget, by the way, and I hate talking about this subject, it's so dehumanizing for me, is if he's going slowly, is if the ideas I talked about are going to come later. Like, he can't expect Canadian adults to act like adults when they don't, and they don't in any other countries of the world, by saying, okay, yeah, he's going to propose all these things. He hired the right researchers and experts with or without being associated to universities. And this is the long-term thinking for the next, let's say, 30 years, and we have to go this way, and it starts now, and it starts with us reinventing ourselves. Well, then the drug addiction is going to get much worse, right? It's got to go slow, and again, it's not going to succeed. It's just going to slow down a tiny bit our particular version of the Anthropocene in this part of the world. But, the next generations are still going to be doomed because economics is related to moving large amounts of wealth and assets and ownership and and resources into the hands of the few. That's what it is. Like, if he says, okay, we're going to invest, but part of it is going to be owned a little bit more by Canadian what? Canadian still private sector, or Canadian, governments that will be transparent. And by the way, when the French guy, I can't, Louis Philippe Blanchet, is that who it is? Champagne? I don't know. Anyways, when he speaks, he speaks of transparency, but my God, don't misuse that word. Look up the definition of transparency. And you can't say we're going to be like that 10% of the time, so we're transparent. Like, stop insulting even your own intelligence when you speak as politicians. And you could see that, there's been some, backdoor discussions. Liberals are maybe in their own heads having good intentions, but they still, plot things behind closed doors. There's no transparency there.